What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters. Welcome to Life to Metal. Thought I'd do part 2 to my new wave traditional heavy metal video I did a couple weeks ago. I'll try to remember to put a link to that above if you haven't seen it. But grab another, I don't know, 5, 10, somewhere in that records to show here, and one CD. So I'm going to show that one first, and not because I want to get out of the way, because I absolutely love this band, but this is Savage Wizdom. This was their second album called A New Beginning from 2014, I believe it was. And the CD's actually not in here because it's in my CD player. It's in my CD player a lot. I really like this album. I think they're a great band. They're actually a local band for me from Santa Fe, New Mexico. However, I talked to the guitar player, and I'm hoping that this album will be able to put out on on No Lights Metal Records in the coming year. So we'll see if that happens or not, but that's my hope because I just believe in it that much, and I just think it's a great album. I know a lot of you guys love traditional heavy metal, so I'm hoping that one will entice you to support the label and to buy that record. So I've never been on vinyl before, only on CD, and I think a cassette too was released on. But in my first video, the one band people said the most that, you know, didn't include this band, why not? I'm going to show now. This is Enforcer, Stockholm, Sweden. Great band, great record. I didn't show it mostly because I just thought most people know who Enforcer is, and I was trying to show more or less bands that weren't as popular. And I think Enforcer are probably one of the most known new wave traditional heavy metal bands. You know, right along there with White Wizard, which is another band. I should have grabbed some White Wizard to show. I didn't grab any. But yeah, I mean, traditional heavy metal, hugely inspired by the likes of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and the new wave of traditional heavy metal bands from back in the 80s. You know, Saxon and Diamond Head and those sorts of bands. Great band, and they deserve the accolades they get. I am really impressed by this band. I still need to get a few of their albums. I'm missing Diamonds. Eventually I'll get them all, but right now this is their most recent studio album, which I believe was 2015 now, so it's a couple years old, but great album. Enforcer, From Beyond. If you haven't heard of Enforcer, chances are you probably haven't checked out much of the new wave traditional heavy metal bands, and they're really deserving of it. For me though, they're not actually one of my favorites. There's a lot of bands out there that are some, you know, that would rank in my top 5, and while I like Enforcer quite a bit, they probably wouldn't rank in my top 5. Black Trip, on the other hand, which features some members from Enforcer, would. I showed them in my last video. Next up, we've got Trial. This is their first album, limited pressing. I got 465 of 500. Some people care about the numbers. You know, they want earlier numbers. I could care less. Some people claim that the earlier numbers were the better pressings. You don't know that. You have no idea what order they came out of the printing presses on the factory. I know, working with record companies, they have no idea. They just get the boxes in the mail, and then we hand number them. So we have no idea what was the first one and what was the last one. The numbering is just, you know, numbered, and then we usually send them out in the order that people order them in. So if you're the second person to order it, you get number 2. If you're the 55th person to order it, you get number 55. That's generally how it works, at least with the companies that I've worked with. And yeah, that aside, this was on Unborn Records, and yeah, Trial are a band that kind of have that sound inspired by the likes of King Diamond and Merciful Fates, as well as, you know, other traditional heavy metal bands, but they kind of have that vibe going on, that dual guitar, that, you know, Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest inspired all the bands from the 80s to do. That's what they got going on here. Trial, a great band. I only have this one record from them, which apparently is one of the harder ones to find. I'd like to find their other records as well. Very good band. If you like, you know, bands like Them, Portrait, Ram, check out Trial as well. The other band that people, you know, that people said quite a bit in the last video, why weren't they on your list? Great band, and yeah, Night Demon from California. Agreed, great band. This is their most recent album here from 2017. This one will most likely make my top 20 list. It's very good traditional heavy metal. This one was from a year or two ago, 2015. Both are great. Their first EP was very good as well. I highly recommend them if you're into that new wave of traditional heavy metal that was inspired by the likes of all those 80s bands, especially the, you know, the early British bands. You know, like I said earlier, Saxon and Diamond Head and Angel Witch, and, you know, all those bands that came out of that early 80s British heavy metal movement, and some other bands too, you know, like Exciter and Anvil, you know, the early bands coming out of Canada and the early bands coming out of America. There was so many, like even early Twisted Sister, you're going to hear it in bands like this. Early Twisted Sister was not pop, it was pure metal. and you'll hear some of that in some of these kind of bands. I'm not sure how I got off on that tangent, but anyhow, from California, Night Demon. The band is spinning in the background. A little different from some of the other bands in here. Some would call these guys thrash. I would say they're more of a speed metal band, kind of like early Exciter or Anvil. Metal with a bit of speed to them. You know, it's not really thrash metal. I mean, I don't really hear, you know, Slayer or Sepultura or, you know, any of those bands that are clearly thrash. This is more, as you can hear in the background, it's got kind of a more of a sound like I level with bands like Exciter and Anvil. Just pure heavy metal. Just not as much, you know, on the Judas Priest, Iron Maiden side, more on the speed metal side of things. So, great band. I really enjoy this album. I need to get more from them because this is actually the only album I have from them. And they have released more since then. This is 2015 on Napalm Records. And this is a gatefold as well. So after the Evil Invaders came, then we had the Evil Survives. This is traditional heavy metal from Canada. And Evil Invaders, I believe, are from Sweden. Evil Survives is from Canada. These guys are more traditional metal. They do have the Ed Replica cover, which would give you the idea that perhaps they're a thrash band, but they are not. They're just a metal band, and they're, I shouldn't say just a metal band. They aren't thrash. They are heavy metal, and they are very good heavy metal. Again, this is another one of those bands that has more releases out. I think this might be the only thing I have. I might have a single from them as well. Just so many great bands out there doing such great, you know, traditional heavy metal. It's hard to keep up with it all. On top of all the great re-releases coming out right now. Did I say re-releases? On top of the re-releases coming out right now. Evil Survives. This is POWERKILLER 2009, I believe. This is actually on a Canadian label too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is on Warm Music. So, Canadian metal on a Canadian label. Evil Survives. This is one that a lot of people, Nathan, Steve, Harmless Rebel, several guys have, you know, recommended to me, saying they're just awesome. And this is another American band. This is Savage Master, female vocalist, and as you can see on the back, they kind of have the dominatrix thing going on with the band all cloaked in you know, leather wristbands, but cloaked with their heads. Kind of have those, I don't know what you call those things. I don't know. They look like well, like if they're white, they look like Ku Klux Klan members, but they're black and you can't see their faces. And of course, you have the singer here, whose name is Debbie Savage. I can't remember her name. Stacy Savage. Debbie. Where I got that from. Anyhow, here she is again. Again, great music, very good vocals. My problem with this band is more that something about the lyrics just kind of come off as a bit, I don't know what the word is. I want to say childish, but that's not the right word. It's going back to that early 80s as well with the whole look how evil we are evil, we are Savage Master, you know, that kind of thing going on. And I don't know, I guess I just think that thing is a little bit played out over the years, but regardless, the music is very good, the vocals are very good, and I'm sure they from what I heard, they put on a fantastic show. I know my buddy Steve from Harmless Rebel, if you haven't checked out his channel, has seen him a few times and loves him. He actually got a CD autographed by them for me, so great band. Savage Master from USA. Last one I'm going to show, this one, I think this is their latest album, if I'm not mistaken. It's their, I believe it was their first full-length album, might have been their second. I know I have an EP by them as well, but this is Midnight Priest. These guys are from Portugal, and finding a vinyl of this was near impossible. Thankfully, a buddy of mine who lives in Portugal was able to find me a copy. So this is one I do have on vinyl and CD because I bought the CD before I was able to get the vinyl. But again, very traditional heavy metal, but it has kind of that, to my ears, kind of has a little bit of a foreign sound, especially in the vocals, which I really like because it's different. You know, it doesn't sound like every other band who, you know, it doesn't sound like all these bands wanted to be Judas Priest. They have their own distinct sound, while they were still inspired by, you know, Judas Priest or Iron Maiden or any of those bands that, you know, inspired the whole traditional metal, heavy metal sound. I just can't say anything bad about this record at all. In fact, I should have been in my first video. It's just that good. Frankly, I had forgotten to pull it out. I didn't think about it. So, yeah, there you go. So there's another one. This one's called, what's the name of this? I forgot the name of the album here. Midnight Steel. Midnight Steel by Midnight Priest. And yeah, I think this thing's still available, at least on CD. I know it is. Very good. Portuguese. Portuguese from Portugal? I don't know. Anyhow, very good heavy metal. Forget anything else I said. It's just good heavy metal. If you like heavy metal, check out Midnight Priest. So there you go. There's another batch of new wave of traditional heavy metal albums. Let me know what you think of those. I'm sure some of you guys know some of these, if not all of them. Let me know what you think of Savage Wizdom if you haven't heard them. I know I've played them in other videos in the past. Kind of curious to know if any of you guys would be interested in getting this on vinyl if I was to put it out. Like I said, very good traditional heavy metal, high-pitched, soaring vocals. I want to say Jeff Tate-ish, but he doesn't sound like Jeff Tate, but he has that kind of, you know, high soaring quality that you would get out of Jeff Tate. So anyhow, that's it for this video. Appreciate y'all watching. God bless. Stay strong.